Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. A nice rally for the NSE 20, sitting at that 24-month high. Give us an update on the volumes that we've been seeing for today's session.
Well, the last 2 days we've seen very good turnover on the market, almost indicative of what people expect as the outcome of this referendum. And a lot of local investors are taking very big positions in a couple of counters. Today, for instance, we saw 765 million in turnover. Out of that, 4 counters alone occupied about half of the turnover, with Safaricom topping it, taking up more than a quarter, and trading at a 12-month high of 6 shillings and 15 cents towards the close of today's session. So we're seeing a lot of very big positions being taken, also in Equity Bank, Barclays Bank and East African Breweries.
NSE 20 has gained around 40% year to date, so a lot of optimism coming through into the Kenyan markets. There was quite a little bit of fear that came through into the markets prior to the referendum set to be held tomorrow. That fear has now waned. What are you expecting for the rest of the week?
I believe the fears have truly been allayed, and everyone is fairly comfortable going into tomorrow's vote, which really is hours away, and it will be a historic moment for this country. But investors are very positive, and it appears that towards the end of the week, once we see the outcome of this referendum, we should see even further rally on the NSE with new highs on a good number of counters.
Alistar, you mentioned that Safaricom, one of those key counters for today, and of course accounting for most of the volume that we saw in today's session. You mentioned 615, a very key number for Safaricom. Where do you see it going from here? Because Ali Kansachi from Rich Management has it at fair value around 682.
Well, I still believe there is quite some upside potential on Safaricom. 650 would be fair on this counter, but again, I say post-referendum, we could see even those targets being exceeded on a good number of counters. Today alone, again, we saw Standard Chartered up a whole 19 shillings just in today's session. So it's really broad, and aside from Safaricom, we could see more on the rest of the market.
Taking a look at Nation Media, it's been quite an interesting stock to watch, purely because it came out with some positive numbers yesterday. We saw a first half profit before tax surging by almost 52%. It's been quite interesting purely because it hasn't really moved that much over the last few sessions. Do you think that this can be contributed to the fact that it's mostly been priced in, or do you think that the good news is still going to filter through into the share price?
I believe there's still some time for the good news to settle into the share price, though we need to factor in the fact that they had a bonus issue very recently, and since then the price was not diluted, so it could be compensating for that. However, the results were very, very good, and Nation Media is poised to get into the broader African region. And opening up of this East African Common Market Protocol will give them significant new business opportunities in the region and beyond. So we could see still some improvement on that counter's price.
Well, many analysts out there talking about that strong bounce in ad spend so far this year, and some say that it could taper off going forward. Would you agree with that?
Sorry, please repeat.
The ad spend, the advertising spend that we've seen so far this year, some say that it could taper off towards the end of this year. Would you agree with that?
No, I think we could still see some more of the same, because a lot of that is hinged on economic recovery, and Kenya and the region looks very, very good. I still think that we could see good advertising expenditure, which will contribute to this company's revenues.
Looking at its PE sitting at around 20, some say that looking slightly expensive. Would you be accumulating the stock at this point in time?
Yes, I would suggest that. They have still maintained their dividend at 1.5 shillings, despite having given the dividend, which is a good indicator of what they expect in the second half of this year. So I would accumulate on this stock.
Alistar, looking at the overall markets, as I mentioned, up around 40% year to date. Some say that markets looking slightly toppish. Others say that this bull run that we've been seeing is on its way to seeing even more gains going forward. Would you agree with that? Are you concerned that things are looking slightly toppish, or do you think we have more room to move? And if you do, what have you been accumulating over the last few months?
Well, I think that the rest of this year, actually the next 12 months, we could still see very, very good upward on this market. Tomorrow's decision is going to play a big role in the future of the NSE for the next couple of months. But I believe that given that there is low inflation, a lot of money available that's been looking for a place to invest, that is why we're seeing a lot of local interest in the market. Foreign interest will come in the event that tomorrow's referendum is successful. So we will see a lot more activity from the foreigners, and this generally will improve the NSE.